We live in the foothills between Denver and Colorado Springs. Well, not exactly the foothills. It is 20 miles into the mountains. The closest structure to our house is 3 miles as the crow flies and about 12 miles by car. Look up remote in the dictionary, and you will see a picture of our cabin. I don't know why all houses in the mountains are called cabins. This is a house and a large one at that. Part of living like this is that you are much closer to nature. We walk the trails and collect edible mushrooms, nuts, and berries during our strolls. We would be myself, Landon, and Cheryl, my wife of 12 years. I'm proud to be that geeky amateur mushroom forager. I do the cooking in our home and I use almost everything found on our nature walks. The reason I was out walking alone today was to blow off steam and scheme. My mind is so scrambled right now. I'm not sure what to do. We had a talk last night. Honey, we need to talk. I spotted near a lingonberry bush a rare and deadly mushroom growing. If this is what I suspect, it's called a destroying angel and is extremely toxic. Less than an ounce can destroy your liver and adversely affect your kidneys. What makes this one especially deadly is that the early symptoms are easily confused with diarrhea. Left untreated for even 2 days, you won't recover and die a very painful death. Unfortunately, people just don't associate diarrhea with mushroom poisoning, and by the time they seek treatment, it's too late. The destroying angel mushroom is pure white and has a smooth stem and cap. It has a ring-like membrane near the top of the stem and is slightly bulbous at the bottom of the stem. I spotted 3 of them, and each was a textbook example. I hurried home, found some latex gloves, and returned to harvest the deadly little beasts. I put them in a small cooler. When we were going steady, Cheryl harped on fidelity and how her father had trashed her upbringing. Her mother had divorced him and poisoned her children's minds against their father. My uncle had divorced his wife, and that's about as close as I could come to relating to what Cheryl had gone through. Regardless, the thought of ever sharing Cheryl, intentionally or otherwise, was disgusting to me. We both made it known that infidelity was a game killer. While we were doing the dating thing, we agreed that our sexual past was just that, in the past. Cheryl was too gifted in the art of pleasuring me to be a virgin. Although I wasn't a virgin, I had completely neglected learning how to please a woman. I've gotten much better, or at least Cheryl has me believing that. Cheryl is beautiful and shapely. Fresh out of high school, she landed a television commercial, but that's where her acting career ended. She is now a project manager at an information systems and computer skills training company. She is quite active in the women in government movement. I am just a corporate accountant. Boring, but it pays well enough. I've been Mr. Geek from early on. I knew deep down that if I had $1 for every woman who thought I was too geeky to date, sooner or later they would all want to date me. I'd watched from the sidelines as the ladies flocked to the money. Thankfully, Cheryl saw potential in me and we were now enjoying life together. Talks about starting a family were happening more frequently. Honey, we need to talk, kept banging around the insides of my skull. As your life flashes before your eyes, an overwhelming sadness descends upon you. Happily ever after might not be so happy. I sat on one of the stools by the island counter in the kitchen. Cheryl had no tears and didn't even look like she'd been crying. Determined would be the word I'd use to describe her face. I'm sitting. Go ahead, I answered. I know we never talked about our love lives before we met. We agreed that it was in the past. I'm ashamed to admit I was less than a good girl. When I was trying to start my acting career, I spread my legs to land the television commercial I starred in. I wasn't successful every time I spread them. And I care about that now because, I questioned. One of the agents who was intimate with me is trying to blackmail me, she replied. It's not like she didn't already have my attention, but I sat up straight. How is he trying to blackmail you? I questioned. I answered a call on my cell phone from what's supposed to be my mom. The caller ID said it was her. It was only after I hung up that I realized the actual number was not my mother's number. Anyway, the guy said he had a video of me that was ready to be shared. He knew what that birthmark on my inner thigh looks like. Not many people know about that, Landon. So he says if I treat him real nice, once a month, he'll keep that video under wraps. I dreaded what was coming. What have you done since he contacted you? I questioned. I told him to call me back tomorrow. I just got off the phone with him. What have I done? I'm doing it now. I'm telling you. My heart was pounding in my chest. Inside, I was chanting, yes, yes, yes. Come here, I replied. We kissed and hugged. Did you know it was being recorded? I asked. Never had a clue. I don't know which agent this might be. Should I contact the police? She questioned. Hold off on doing that. I suspect that video could surface if things don't go according to his plan. Is there something in that video that I wouldn't approve of? Cheryl hung her head, and the tears started flowing. Inside, my chant had changed to damn, damn, damn. One of the agents had my back. I've never let you do that. I hated it. It hurt. A lot. I don't know if it was this guy. Everything else was just regular love stuff. Sometimes there were two guys. If you want, you can have my back too. Cheryl, under a different set of circumstances, maybe we can explore that option. Right now isn't the right time. We need a plan, I replied angrily. I drank shots until I was too drunk to continue scheming. The only thing we agreed on was that when he called tomorrow, she would tell them that I wanted to watch when they got together. That was the farthest thing from the truth, but we agreed that would give us more time to put an end to this threat. I took the day off and went out to do my nature walk. I returned with my small cooler filled with the deadly angels. Cheryl was back from work. He called again today. Did he agree to me watching? I questioned. Big time. He said if my wimp of a husband wanted to learn how to love me, he'd be more than happy to comply. That jerk is a dead man. Who, how, when, and where are still to be determined. Cheryl and I spent the evening narrowing our choices for a private investigator. After we meet this blackmailer, we want to know all about him and where he lives. I don't think that you're the only one he's pulled this stuff on. He's probably got a room in his house where he keeps the recordings. We need to find a way to destroy that collection. Cheryl talked with the investigator and she relayed how we were planning on an introductory meeting. Our intent was to give the investigator something to work with. As I pondered the things I could do and stay out of prison, I hatched a plan. Finding those mushrooms was pure serendipity. Normally, I would turn them over to the Colorado Mycological Society, where a mushroom expert would confirm their toxicity. Normally. Cheryl, when the blackmailer calls tomorrow, invite him to dinner Friday night. We can use the picnic tables in the campground back by the highway. There's a grill there and I can sear some steaks. Trust me. No questions. Cheryl gave me that. What kind of no good are you up to? Look, trust me. Just do it. Cheryl said it took some convincing, but the blackmailer agreed to meet us. He indicated he'd be accompanied by a bodyguard. That didn't bother me. It was a long week waiting for Friday night to roll around. The private investigator was going to have a drone record of the vehicles headed towards the campground. Once our blackmailer was isolated, he would follow them after they left. Cheryl and I were waiting by the grill when a pickup truck pulled up. I had started the charcoals when we arrived and they were turning bright red. Some beefy, carbon-based life form got out of the driver's side and stood by the truck. He pulled his jacket back to expose a holstered gun. Out of the passenger side, a run-of-the-mill-looking guy emerged. His hair was slick and drawn into a ponytail that reached just below his collar. A goatee, earring in one ear, bulky watch, and gold chains completed his smarmy look. Cheryl whispered, "That's Orlando." "Nice to see you again, Cheryl," was met with cold stares from both of us. "Have a seat. Can I get you a beer? How would you like your steak?" she asked. "Beer sounds good. Make mine medium rare." "What are you up to nowadays, Cheryl?" He smirked. "Nothing of interest to you," as she set the can in front of Orlando. I had chosen this picnic table because of the little white mushrooms growing nearby. "Would you like some mushrooms on your steak and salad? I see some right by your foot." Pull them out of the ground and hand them to me." Orlando and Cheryl both shot me this WTF look, but Orlando reached down and came up with 5 of them. I bit the head off of one of them. "Damn, these are good!" I made a big deal of chewing and swallowing the mushroom as I pulled the salad fixings and steaks out of the coolers. I put my latex gloves on and diced 2 of the deadly angels. I put the 3rd one back in the sack along with most of those that Orlando had harvested. Cooking doesn't lessen the toxicity of the mushrooms. I grilled some angel pieces for his steak. I mixed the rest in the salad and headed for Orlando. I measured, and Orlando was getting 4 ounces of mushrooms. I added heaping portions of salad dressing and steak sauce, adding a few crescent rolls, and dinner was served. I whispered to Cheryl, "Don't eat anything off of his plate." As Orlando enjoyed our hospitality, he smirked. "I was thinking you should come back to my place tonight, Cheryl." "Not going to happen. I'm never going where you could videotape me again." "Nice try, jerk," she replied. "Well then, let's go back to your place. My friend will have to watch it too. You don't mind that, do you, Wimpy?" He smirked. I jumped in. "We are not going anywhere tonight. We are here to figure out when and where works for all of us." "Okay. Let's meet at one of those motels I saw back by the highway. Why not tonight?" he questioned. Cheryl shot back, "Because I said so." I added, "I still need time to get accustomed to the idea of this. Let's meet there next Friday. I'll get a room." Cheryl shot me an "I'm going to kill you" look. Orlando was using his bread to soak up the remaining steak juices. Damn, those mushrooms were good. He looked around and saw another cluster of mushrooms by the adjoining picnic bench. On his way back to his truck, he picked them up. "Until next Friday. If you back out, you won't like the consequences, Cheryl. See ya, Wimpy." After the truck pulled onto the frontage road, Cheryl exploded. "What the hell is that all about? No way in hell am I going to meet him Friday night." "He won't be there," I replied, smiling. "The hell he won't." "What makes you think he won't be there?" she questioned. "I believe you agreed to trust me, no questions." "I don't want to know, do I?" she asked. I simply smiled at her. Orlando was half excited just thinking about Cheryl. She was a lot more beautiful now that she had filled out a little. That scrawny little teenager on his video couldn't hold a candle to this babe. He finished another beer in the bar before heading back to his truck with his $50 date. After he filled her mouth, he headed home. After farting a few times, he thought, something I ate must not be agreeing with me. In the morning, Orlando fixed himself a pot of coffee and gnawed on the 2-day-old donuts. He spent all morning watching his adult video collection and trying to use social media to track down where some of these dumb women disappeared. It was noon when the first bout of diarrhea hit. Then it was 3 p.m., and by 5 p.m. he was completely drained. The stomach cramps were bad, but the scotch was overcoming all of his senses. On Sunday morning, his room stank. When he went to relieve himself, he realized he had pooped his pants. His head hurt, his stomach was still unsettled, and his back was burning. He rinsed himself in the shower. Orlando ordered pizza for lunch, but an hour after eating it, his stomach cramped so badly that he thought about going to the emergency room. The screwdrivers he was soaking up put him out of his misery until about 10 p.m. He was running out of clean clothes. Leaning against the shower wall, he again contemplated going to the emergency room. Monday morning saw Orlando in a fetal position on the floor outside his bedroom bathroom. He was too weak to get to his feet. When he tried to use his cell phone, it slid from his hands and skidded under his bed. He wasn't able to reach it. Tuesday afternoon, his cleaning crew found him unconscious and called 911. The investigator Cheryl engaged was able to uncover lots of information about Orlando, including where he lived. I kept checking the nearest hospitals until Orlando was discovered. It was Tuesday night. By Wednesday night, Orlando's house and all of its contents were a pile of ashes. Arson is suspected. A half-dozen empty 5-gallon gas cans were a pretty good clue. A very nervous Cheryl had just grilled me. "Landon, it's Friday. What's happening with Orlando?" "I told you he wouldn't be there. We can have a nice quiet meal here," I replied. "What about his threat?" she questioned. "Just ignore it," I replied. Cheryl was just about to say something else when the doorbell rang. "Mr. Nelson?" Looking at his badge flipped open for me to see. "That would be me. How can I help you, detective?" I replied. "We have reason to believe that Orlando Pierce has ingested a poisoned mushroom. He said he picked some when he met you for dinner a week ago," the officer questioned. "He did pick a few wild mushrooms. I think I still have some as we didn't use all of them. Come on in while I grab them." I found the cooler in the garage and gave it to the detective. "Here you go. How is Orlando?" I questioned. "On life support. I doubt that he'll make the weekend," the officer replied. Cheryl's eyes were sparkling. "Let me know what else we can do to help, detective," I questioned, hiding my smirk. "Will do. You folks have a nice evening." Cheryl watched until the detective's car disappeared down the mountain. "I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I don't want to know," was the chant I heard as a naked Cheryl appeared before my eyes. Then she proceeded to give me the best love time of my life. Monday morning, when I asked which room Orlando was in, I was told he was no longer a patient. Wimp, that jerk. We heard back from the detective and the Colorado Mycological Society. "Can you believe it, Cheryl? One of those mushrooms was a deadly angel. It killed Orlando. How lucky are we that we didn't eat one like Orlando did." The detective also said that someone torched Orlando's house while he was in the hospital. Talk about a run of bad luck. Cheryl wasn't buying it. Not more than an hour later, I enjoyed our love time. It was cute listening to her softly chanting, "I don't want to know." And so, we've reached the end of today's story. Was it what you expected, or did it take a twist you didn't see coming? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below, and let's get a conversation going. If this story kept you hooked, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here or just haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to join our community. I bring you fresh, captivating stories every day, so click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.